Hello and welcome to this new episode of Bootstrapping Your Dreams Show. I'm your host Manuj Agarwal, and today we'll be talking with my very special friend Gayle Martz. So, when you are taking a pet with you on a plane, remember that you're doing something extraordinary, and only one person in the whole world is responsible for your fantastic experience. Gayle created the soft-sided pet carrier category with her iconic Sherpa bag and led a successful business she built from the ground up for decades. A brilliant example of turning a passion into a business. Gail invented the Sherpa bag for all modes of pet travel in 1989, forever changing the pet travel experience. She believes that your ideas are worthless until they are implemented. Gail had riches to rag story. Uh, Riches to rag. Sorry, Gail had a rag
Oh,
story.
rags to riches.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that.
But
Uh,
we
Gail,
understand.
yeah, we understand. Like Gail had a rags to riches story because she was unemployed before starting her business. Gail is a well-known pet travel expert, the author of No Pet Left Behind, and her latest book, It's in the Bag. Her trailblazing efforts drew national media attention. CNN and MSNBC's The Big Idea with Donny Deutsch, Good Day New York, NBC's Today Show, Fox News Channel, Town, and Country Magazine, and others told her compelling story. Gail's reputation as a travel expert turned innovative entrepreneur grew, and she became a sought after speaker and consultant. She now advocates for a world that welcomes pets wherever their humans go, and she advises companies and government agencies on pet friendly policies, just as she did when she first started with American Airlines. Gail meets with legislatures and brand name company leaders on a regular basis, as well as heads of airlines, hotels, resorts, restaurant owners, fashion icons, media gurus, and of course, key influencers in the dog and cat world. Welcome, Gail.
Well, welcome. Thank you so much, Manus. That was fabulous. It really was. So you met Coco. She said, I got up so early today. I'm just going to listen to the interview now because I am not going to speak.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great. It's such a great pleasure to have you. I had good times in Phoenix with you. Now, so that the audience can also get to know you better, can you walk us down the memory lane? Can you help us, understand how you got here? How did you achieve this level of success? And of course, your love for pets.
Yes, well, I it started with actually you could have said a riches to rags and then reverse it because
Yeah.
it started with Sherpa first. The dog came into my life September 26, 1987. And then December 22nd, 1987, my fiance was unfortunately had died in his sleep.
Mm.
Fortunate for him because he just was like gone with no pain, nothing, which if you have to go, I couldn't think of a better way that you should go.
Yeah, yeah,
But for
absolutely.
me, that was the tragedy that changed my whole life around. And then Sherpa the dog, with the unconditional love, gave me what I needed to help me to do what I was truly meant to do. So that's the human animal bond benefit that comes in. So we take the tragedies in life, we deal with the bad, the good, and all that we have to deal with. And so with Sherpa the dog, it was like I wanted her, I needed her, I had to be with her. And then my mother, who we had the wonderful, fabulous best friend, she became my business partner, where in the one thing about an idea, as you said, it means nothing without a foundation. So here was my mother who always kept the financial house in order. Now, we each have our own talents. So my talent is creative design, fashion, photography. Connie, I'd call her Connie because in business you can't keep saying mother this. It doesn't sound professional. So Connie would keep the financial house in order. And I think that when you see how it began, before we had computers, I had a 39-cent ledger, and she would write in exactly what each thing was. So it started with the first Sherpa bag. I had to come up with you have to come up with a product name, the different things, the UPC, the different this, and then it's all in the book in a ledger because we didn't have the tools we have today.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, technology is and are all the different streaming and technology tools and links and things that we have. Those are the inventions of today. So that's where you are. We just really clicked when we were together, and it really was, as you said, we are unstoppable. So alliance with David Kogan was so pivotal to helping. That's how we met at the Alliance Heroes table.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a very interesting conversation, very interesting, meeting you and learning about your life. And I think, one of the things that I said to you back then as well when we met, uh, not a lot of people have the courage to disrupt something so big. So how did you find that courage? How did you find the grit to go against large organizations like airlines and government bodies and try to convince them on changing the laws that were there for decades?
The way that, when you begin something and you lay a foundation, and I have to look at a community. So the community of pet lovers is enormous. It's huge. And it's $261 billion pet market now. But when I started, it was much smaller. And when you said, what I did was I created a category, and the category was the soft-sided pet carrier. That didn't exist. Now, how do you know it didn't exist? You have to research. But what we can do now in research, it's all on the computer. Oh, I could ask Siri. I could say Google. I could do any of the tools that we have. So then I had to get to American Airlines. I wanted to start with an airlines because you could not take a pet on a plane in the cabin with you. And in order to do that, I had to create the soft-sided pet carrier that would conform to all underneath the seat dimensions. So this is in 88, 89, and I think what's so important is how I began in my life when I was 20 years old. I was filled with this wanderlust. So I was in college. I just went and got an AA and graduated with honors and did that. But I said, I have a wanderlust. I can always go back to school. I can always finish this, but I needed to get out and live life, see life, experience life, and learn about life. And so I was fortunate and so grateful when I was hired as a hostess, which is now a flight attendant for TWA, Trans World Airlines. And at that time, Trans World Airlines and Pan American Airlines, those were the two top. So it's like I chose the one I wanted, and that was TWA. And then I was based in New York City, 20 years old, and I flew to Europe. Now, I flew to Europe. I didn't have choices because, you have seniority and different things like that. But would feel like, oh, my choice was like, okay, well, I love Paris. But you see, when all the senior people, it goes by seniority then and now, the senior people would go to places, but let's just say, now in the world has changed. And so if there were terrorist attacks, if there were different things that were happening, that country, city would go very junior because people wanted to be safe and not go to a place that was having these attacks. So it really is in the world. We look at what is going on in the world, and then now, coming fast forward from way back then, you can see everything that's happening in the world and hear it. And I'm tuned in with 3 computers, 2 iPhones, at least 2 or 3 iPhones sitting by me at all times, and my dogs. And so I think the airlines was really it was the beginning. It truly, I don't think for a fact, my live life experiences. And I was selected for all of these special assignments. So I did presidential charters. So when the president, let's say way back then, Jimmy Carter was doing a overseas assignment, Trans World Airlines was one airline, and let's say we would carry the reporters on board a 707, and then the whole plane would be changed around, so they had their workstation. It wouldn't be a normal thing, nor would the food be like anything you would ever get now. It was above and beyond first class in every single way. It was privately for either the news correspondents or the photographers. Now, I loved also being on the plane with the photographers because I learned so much. So let's just say we'd land in a city, wherever it was in the world at the time. And the photographers, they're out there and getting everything all set up. So when Air Force One would arrive, you'd get that first shot. Who gets the first shot photograph of the president getting off the plane at that time? And then when they meet with the president or the ruler or whoever it is of that country, it was one of those things. So that was truly very exciting for me. And all of my special assignments, let's say, I had the heart surgeons from the Cleveland Clinic. So when we talk about health and different things like that, you must be healthy. And when people have money like Prince Turki of Saudi Arabia, who do you think he flies over? The doctors from the heart surgeons from the Cleveland Clinic. So then I'm on a special assignment over to Saudi Arabia with the heart surgeons from the Cleveland Clinic. All of these things helped in the formulation of having the right people, the communities, and doing truly what you love.
Yeah. I think those stories are so fascinating. So I obviously appreciate you sharing those experiences. But I think above all, what you mentioned in the end, you have a true passion for pets, and I think that's one thing that lacks around in society. Most people don't really know what their passion is, and even if they know, they don't really put their heart and soul in pursuing it. What do you feel about that?
I always feel, and my mantra is to do what you love in the places you love with the people and pets you love. So I would be in a city, let's say when I had started my company, and well, for let's say a Petco, these are these big superstore chains. I was so, this was like in 1990, I got into Petco. So it's one thing to change a policy on an airline. That's great. But what do people really do? They're in their cars more. So I also did the airlines. Then I did the automotive industry on pet occupant safety. And then when I worked with, let's say, Petco, I have to show them and inform them and help to educate them on how they can better help their customers. Same in the airline industry, every single industry. It's a service that you are providing. And then the service brings revenue, so service and revenue. So let's say we'll go to the airlines where it began. How did I convince the airlines? Well, people loved their pets. And if they had a small pet, that was the only drawback then, was it was just I could only do small pets, dogs, cats. And that's still the way it is. In fact, it's gotten even harder now as things go along. So you really have to plan ahead, be prepared. But I had to be able to do something and convince them, their customers really wanted to be able to have this service. And this service would provide revenue. And then in the competitive world, those are the two factors that you really wanted to look at. So I'm showing the airlines, oh, okay, well, way back then, it was $45 to take. This is why I'm so prehistoric in this. It was $45 to take a pet on a plane domestically. And then I had to help write up all the rules, the bulletins, because we had to educate. Let's say in airlines, you're educating from the top, and then it has to go into all of the different, what we're talking about, AI, all the different systems. Here are bulletins. Okay, so here's a bulletin that comes out. The Sherpa bag is the only soft-sided pet carrier approved for carry-on on board. It is identified by Sherpa zipper pulls. And because everybody would try, they didn't for 3 years. I had 3 years where I just had a clean zone of, getting out there, working as many. There aren't enough hours in my days, and the days and the nights and whatever it is, you just do what you love, as I said. And it's not work. It's just because you love it, and you feel it. It's in your gut. And when I say in your gut, if it doesn't feel right, it isn't right. But if it feels right, you are driven. You can't get it out of your mind. And you know that you have to do this, and you have to find a way.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, please.
No, but it's like, so it's like, okay, well, I could do this. And I've got these people here now. So we have the airlines. We've done that with American. We're working on different airlines. And Connie, my mother, we're just going to call her Connie now. We did major mailings. Remember, we didn't have the technology tools of today. So there were 10,000 things. She would have to handwrite all these things and send them out. It was just prehistoric what we had to do. So we are so fortunate in what you're doing in today's time. I did bootstrap my dreams, and I do love fashion, because I would fly to Paris, and I would fly to Rome and Milan and all the top fashion capitals of the world. And, boots, we would wear boots as well. And I was thinking, when it says bootstrapping your dreams,
like,
what's the boot, and how are you going? It's the same thing. Here's a boot. And then it has the strap on it, and it's got to have the colored antique bronze zipper. I mean, everything was fashion as well. So it all comes together doing what you love.
Absolutely. And I think, as you pointed out, if you feel it in your gut, if you are passionate about it, even large challenges seem small. Like, were you ever intimidated by taking on these large corporations and trying to convince the whole public, or these executives? Was there any element of intimidation, or did you have any doubt in your ability to pull that off?
Well, let's just say the last major airline. I mean, it all works differently in different ways, but the last major airlines to change the policy on was Delta Airlines.
Mm-hmm.
So I had, how could I get to the right person? And my customers, I would sit on the floor because I'm a real yoga personality. I see, everything behind you and how
Yeah.
you are. So we have that, in our spirit. And yoga really was one of my tools that could really help me, because the stress that you have in business is stress. And how do you deal with stress? Yoga really would help. Meditation really would help. And when you've got to really meditate into that healing and finding the way. So I had to get to Delta, and I would read all of the things coming in from my customers, and they would say, oh, okay, this one was in Brazil and they needed to get from here to there, from Rio to this. And I was my own 800 number. I was the one that did everything. And so then I'd say, just wait, and just be with me, because I am working on these things. And that's the community that you build. But so finally I decided, I had this idea. I'm going to call the secretary to the president of Delta Airlines. And it's like she believed in my idea. And then the next day I had an email coming in. And so then the process started of setting up this meeting with Delta Airlines. And so at that time, Sherpa the dog, we have to talk about which dog was with me. She's the queen of the empire. So Sherpa the dog, I am the photographer, so I had pictures of her. I wrote up, the different travel tales, and Sherpa would, talk. It would be from her perspective. And then I had travel tips that were done from my perspective, because we had a lot of people to help educate. And believe me, people would take these on the plane with them so they could show people, because this was new. It was really new. So Sherpa, the dog, was a Lhasa Apso. And we flew. She was the first dog to fly on Delta Airlines. And so we flew on Delta Airlines from New York, JFK, to Atlanta. And then I'm thinking, okay, I'm in the hotel and I'm just thinking, because it's like, it's not that I'm scared. It's just like, I just want to make sure that everything goes right. So you have a bit of that, it's not anxiety, but it's like, I want to make sure it's great. How can I really do everything, cover all my bases, have all my tools there? So there we are. We get into Atlanta, we get into the conference room, and we're at a big, huge conference table in Atlanta with Delta Airlines. And Sherpa the dog is in the center of the big conference table. And all of the top, let's say you have reservations, you have in flight, you have dangerous, you have all around the table, you have everybody. So they're all there and I'm there. And so then Sherpa's in the center of the table, and the meeting was at the 3-hour point. And then Sherpa gets up out of her bag. This is a great, beautiful dog. She stands up, looks at everybody, turns around and goes back in her bag. And I said, and that is Sherpa. And then it was like, okay, she really closed the deal on okay, I see this is great for that dog. You see, that's the human animal bond. So I always start with people as well too. Do you have a dog? Do you have a cat? And people have stories, and it's not about me, it's about them. And you must listen to your customers. So they will have a story and they will share with me, the story. And that's how it really began, with the community of pet lovers that could help me to really feel in my heart and soul that what I was doing was what I was meant to do.
Nice, nice. So it sounds like if you combine passion with service to others, build a community around you, that intimidation factor goes away. I mean, you still feel nervous, but you go on and you accomplish your goals because so many people are counting on you. Is that right?
Yes,
Mhm.
people and their pets. Because how can you go, like, people would, they would see me and they would say to me, oh, I really wish, this was so long ago, I really wish that my, uh, whatever, Bentley or whatever the name of the, I wish my dog was with me. And then it
Yeah,
became so common that, okay, so take the airlines, that's only a small part. Take the cars, pet occupant safety, and then take what happened during the pandemic that we're dealing with. What did people do? They had to stay at home. And so I spent a lot of my time in Paris, France. But at that time, well, we couldn't go. We were just locked out, which was great because at that time, then I was really, I couldn't believe I couldn't go. I kept trying every different way that I could. And then it was the best thing that I couldn't go because when in Paris at that time, we have a freedom here in the United States of America, and we have to just be cognizant of the people around us and everybody else, and not, what if you have this whatever pandemic that's going around, or you have any, you just stay and be safe, because we all want to be safe. And especially, with the different people that are more susceptible to picking up diseases and the different ages that we're dealing with. So it was really the best thing that I wasn't going to Paris, because if you were in Paris, you could not go out of your house. You could go out of your house, but you had to have a document attestation signed by the police saying, okay, well, I'm going out for 1 hour. I have to do this. I have to do that. And that's what you had to do. But I was here and I was working on my book. It's in the Bag, which is the book that is the story of what's in the bag.
Hmm.
Do you think this deal, let's talk about deals because we're talking about business. I had so many deals that were really in the bag. I thought it was a done deal. It really was a done deal. And as I have always told everybody, until you have that money in your hand, it is not a done deal, because a
Mhm.
check, it doesn't mean anything until it clears.
Yeah,
So, I had to go through every single thing that there was to go through, because all those things happened to me. They
yeah,
really happened to me. People, I mean, there is another part of the world, they can do very evil things. So
yeah.
you've really got it. One of the biggest things is the professional help you really need. And my attorney is with me for everything. My CPA is with me for everything. But when you make mistakes, you have to be able to talk with them before one of the biggest mistakes in my life was made. Do not ever sign any agreement without your attorney reviewing everything.
Nice. Let's do talk about that. I mean, your story is so fascinating, and just as you're describing it, like just going through all the challenges, all the ups and downs. You must have made many mistakes, just like you mentioned. Signing an agreement. What are some of the other mistakes that you have made, and you learned the lessons from, which you can share with the audience?
I think we always have to go back to Connie. Connie had, and she would be there with me at all the times. And wherever it was, I could be living in New York, she'd be here in California. I'm in California right now. So, and then it's like you have to have a plan. And so the mistakes that happen it's all timing, because if it's not meant to be, it won't be. You have to
Mhm.
remember that. You could still do everything the very best that you could do, but if it's not meant to be, it won't be. And
Yeah.
so you have to put a trustworthy group of people together. So when you talk about mistakes, well, in my personality and life, I have trusted people. And you have to make very sure before you trust someone and give them money. That was a big mistake, because I have like this, heart of gold. I do, because I'm working on the unconditional love part with the dogs. And I trusted people. I trusted people because I got sold. Now remember that we have these people that will con you, or like, let's go to the AI and the different spam and junk and this and all these different things that come in. Like, there's something that comes in all the time, and
Mhm.
you have to be so careful with everything that you do. And it's not you alone. I was very grateful in my life to have Richard Beckhardt as an organizational consultant. And my doctor, I have doctors, because you have to make sure your health is right. Do your checkups, do all the things that you must do, the dentist, everything you have to do. So my doctor said, his name was Dr. Wise, who was very wise. He said, "You are rapidly successful. You need to speak with Richard Beckhardt." And I said, "Well, what will I say to him?" It's like, I didn't even know. He said, "He will know." And that was really one of the best introductions in my life, because Richard Beckhardt taught me about life, organization, and business. So I would, take, at that time I had Sherpa, and then I had another dog, because I always say, when the dog is 10, these are small dogs that I have, I must bring in another dog. As people know, when you get a puppy, they say you're setting yourself up for one of the worst days of your life, because when that dog goes, your heart goes with the dog. But they go, you have to be able to look at the gratitude and look at all of the things that pet provided you, and know exactly and when. And I didn't know exactly, like when it was time for Sherpa to go, I was on the floor right beside her, every single thing. And it's like, you learn these things. Those are the veterinarians that help you to learn these things, and those doctors. So Richard was with me organizationally, consulting me, very helpful. But then again, take the veterinarians, huge part of my life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course. So great, great. I mean, these life experiences all obviously are invaluable, and you cannot really teach what you have experienced in words. But then, how do you trust people? How do you have you developed that instinct to trust the right people now?
Well, I have to continuously keep developing it, because, like, look well, we know when we were with David Kogan, Alliance Heroes,
Yeah.
the people that were there, and, you and I just went on the same, heart goal together, how we can be together, learn, talk, share. And so you have to also check them out. How do you
Mm.
check somebody out? You can check anybody out. It's like, do you want to know about me? All you do is Google Gayle Martz, go through every single page, do every single, what have I done? What have you done? What has this person done? And then when you see something that pops up that is a concern, and I'm not alone, I will not be alone to do any of the things in my life. I have to have a team. So the public relations team that I have, which really helps me with all of that, it's like, okay, here's David Kogan. They found David Kogan, and I did the podcast with him, and that was a great connection. So I believe and I trust in all of them. And before I do anything, it's going to go to, of course, my attorney, of course, my CPA, of course, my public relations team, because they have, I have 5 fabulously accredited women like Diane Grisel, who has the PhD of everything she does. And I have a team of people that help me. So I cannot make a mistake with a person.
Got it. Great. And one question I always ask is, you've achieved a tremendous amount of success. I'm pretty sure, a lot of mentors or people who help you along the way uh, had a big impact on your life and the outcomes that you have had. So, can you share some stories? Any stories of you getting sort of a jump start or getting help from any of your mentors or coaches when things were not going well?
Well, yes, because if I didn't have Richard Beckhart, it's like I remember I'm being a photographer, I have a picture of everything. So I'm there, sitting and I'm thinking about this. Here's a potential deal that I'm working on. The deal is, okay, this is a company that wants the Sherpa bag. And so then I want to show him like this company, and then I'm going to work through all of the different parts of the company and what they are. But it's not, the money is never what it is that you're working for. It's what it is that you can do to help make a difference in the world. And so then I showed him, I had an offer at that time. It was 1997. It was a lot of money for $4.5 million for me. And then what was my role going to be in everything else? But my role was going to be so restricted that I couldn't take the deal. And I couldn't have done that alone without Richard to help me with the questions to ask and the things to know, and would it be right for me to do that? That's one, in a business deal. And then another thing was a great learning experience for me, because I look at all the luxury houses. Let's just say the luxury houses. We have Hermes, Lanvin, you see them all the time, especially at Fashion Week in Paris, Balenciaga, and different things. And it's like I had to set up, I really wanted, it had to be a global. I had to set up a global brand. So the global brand, when we look at our tools of technology and everything like that, you have to have patents, you have to have trademarks, you have to have copyrights, you have to do everything so you are protected and you own that name. You own that concept, in the sense you also have a lot of legal issues that you're going to be dealing with. So you have to have a great legal team that's there with you. And I had that. My patent and trademark attorneys were fabulous. And they really helped me because I just didn't know. I mean, how would I know those things? That's what they specialize in. So get your team of professionals working with you all the way.
Great advice. Great advice. Yeah, I mean, I guess these experts and mentors and people who have more experience and knowledge, they can see around the corners and let us know. That there's dangers lurking around, and that's how we learn, right? Like learning from other people.
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much, Gayle. This has been such an amazing conversation. Thank you for sharing your experience and your very interesting life with us. Now, before I let you go, can you tell us, people who want to reach out and connect with you, what is the best way they can connect with you?
My website is Gayle, GAYLE, MARTZ.com. so they get a picture of what I do. And then I think LinkedIn is really what people are working with, in a professional sense, because then it narrows it down to the LinkedIn what's the LinkedIn? How we have the LinkedIn to get on with, because
we'll put those. We'll figure it out. We'll put those links in the show notes.
We don't have to spend any more time, because that's so important. I think that really narrows it down as well. So get the picture on the .coms, Google whatever you need to do about Gayle Martz, and then you can learn, and then we can work together. It's really a global marketplace.
Yes, absolutely. Great. Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun having you. Thank you.
But thank you so much, Manoj.
Thank you.